My sister-in-law smirked. I used your college fund to buy my dream house. Say goodbye to becoming a doctor. What she didn't know, I had already moved all $800,000. When her plan collapsed, I made sure her biggest secret saw the light of day. Hey, Reddit. I lost both of my parents when I was just 16. It was a devastating time, but I clung to the one thing they left behind: a modest inheritance and a shared dream. They'd spent their lives working tirelessly to give me something they never had: a shot at medical school. They left behind close to $800,000, specifically for my education. My uncle took care of the fund until I became a legal adult. I've always been the dependable type. The kid who stayed late in the library, volunteered at clinics, and saw becoming a doctor not as a job, but a calling. My parents' legacy wasn't just about money. It was about purpose. I wanted to help people in a way no one could help my parents when they were sick. That money wasn't just a fund. It was my future. Right after I turned 18, my uncle honored his promise and handed over the account. I set up a trust fund with dual authentication protections so it couldn't be touched without multiple layers of verification. It was as secure as I could make it. Enter Melissa, my sister-in-law. She married my older brother Daniel 5 years ago, and from day one, I had a bad feeling about her. Melissa came from wealth, but her family lost it all when she was a teenager. Since then, she carried this attitude like the world owed her for the loss. Designer labels were her identity. Her social media was a highlight reel of fake perfection. She believed luxury wasn't a privilege, it was her birthright. I put up with her because she was part of the family, but I knew she looked down on me. Once, when I was accepted into a pre-med program, she scoffed and said becoming a doctor was just what poor people did when they wanted to pretend they were rich. She said I should marry money instead. I ignored her. I kept my focus on school and on the dream I was chasing. What I didn't realize was that she had been watching, waiting. A few months ago, Melissa overheard my brother mention I had access to my college fund. I'd made a small transfer for tuition, and Daniel mentioned it in passing. That tiny detail was all she needed. Suddenly, she got curious, asking little questions about my finances, my future plans, and even suggesting I didn't need med school because people make 6 figures on social media now. I stayed vague. I knew better than to give her anything real. Still, she turned on the charm, acting like she cared about my goals. I didn't trust it, but I didn't see what she was planning either. Then came the call. It was a quiet Sunday morning. I was going over flashcards for my biochem midterm when my phone buzzed. Melissa's name lit up. She was practically giddy. "I hope you're not too mad," she began. "But I made an offer on the most amazing house, and I used your college fund. I know it sounds wild, but honestly, it's better this way. Med school isn't for you. You'll thank me when you see the place." She went on about marble finishes, 5 bedrooms, a closet the size of my whole apartment. Like she'd done me a favor. For a second, I couldn't speak. My mind couldn't even process what she was claiming. Then I opened my bank app. The fund was still intact. Not a single dollar missing. That's when everything clicked. Melissa had tried to pull off a heist, but she didn't realize I'd moved the full amount days earlier into a more secure trust with biometric access only. I'd done it on a whim after a data breach hit our university. Her purchase? Denied. And I wasn't done yet. But instead of confirming the money was there, she jumped the gun and bragged. I stayed calm on the phone, pretending I didn't know what she was talking about. I asked for details. That's when she told me she'd already signed the contract and paid a deposit, thinking she'd drained my college fund to do it. My guess? She faked paperwork, possibly manipulated my brother Daniel into giving her access, and attempted a direct wire to the seller. But the transaction didn't go through. And now, there was fallout. I ended the call without much of a reaction, letting her bask in her false triumph while I quietly got to work. I dug deep. What I found, jaw-dropping. Melissa hadn't just tried to swipe my money. She forged my signature, created a spoofed email address in my name, and even contacted the bank while pretending to be me, trying to push the transfer through. But she made mistakes. Plenty of them. Everything she did left a digital footprint. I compiled the evidence carefully, screenshots, call logs, emails. Then I got in touch with an attorney. We started building a legal response. But that wasn't the end of it. Melissa had a skeleton in her closet. A huge one. Years before marrying Daniel, she'd been involved in a hit and run. No one had ever been charged because the case went cold. But Melissa had once confessed the truth to someone. Her ex-best friend, Tara. They'd fallen out years ago, and I remembered Tara once alluding to a secret about Melissa that would destroy her if it ever came out. So I reached out to Tara, under the pretense of needing help with a legal matter. Turns out, Tara still had the evidence. Dashcam footage Melissa had foolishly sent her once, boasting that she'd gotten away with it. Now that footage was in my hands. So Melissa hadn't just tried to defraud me. She had a criminal past that could land her in far deeper trouble. Still, I waited. I wanted her to squirm. I wanted the reality to settle in. 2 days later, she called again. This time, she was anything but smug. She was in full-blown panic. The house deal had collapsed. The bank froze the attempted transaction. The seller was threatening legal action over the unpaid deposit. Daniel was livid. She'd apparently told him the money was a gift from our parents' estate. Now he was demanding an explanation. Melissa, desperate and cornered, pleaded with me to just transfer the money. That's when I told her everything. That I knew what she tried to do. That the account had been secure the whole time. That I had proof of the fraud, the impersonation, the forged emails. She started yelling, accused me of betrayal, tried to guilt-trip me using Daniel. But I stayed composed and calmly said 7 words that ended the conversation instantly. I know about the hit and run. Click. Dead silence. And that's when things truly began to unravel. Those words hit her like a wrecking ball. I stared at my phone, half expecting her to call back in a frenzy. But she didn't. I could picture her face, pale, panicked, cornered. She realized in that moment. This wasn't about money anymore. Her carefully buried secret had just resurfaced, and I was the one holding it. For the next several days, radio silence. No texts, no calls. Even Daniel stopped reaching out. But the quiet didn't bring peace. It felt like the silence before a storm. I wasn't sitting idle. I was preparing. My lawyer moved quickly. We filed a formal complaint with the bank's fraud division, sent them copies of the emails, screenshots, and even the phone recordings. We handed the dashcam footage to the authorities. The process was already underway. I wasn't bluffing. But the next shock didn't come from Melissa. It came from Daniel. He showed up at my place without warning. When I opened the door, he looked shattered, eyes hollow, face drawn, like he hadn't slept in days. In his hand was a manila envelope. He didn't say much, just stepped inside, sat down at my kitchen table, and slid the envelope across to me. Inside? Every forged document Melissa had used. Authorization forms with fake signatures. Emails pretending to be from me. Even a letter she had drafted to my college, asking them to cancel my enrollment and refund the tuition to her. Daniel had uncovered everything. After the house deal collapsed and the seller threatened legal action, he searched Melissa's computer, and what he found broke more than his heart. It shattered his trust, dismantled his marriage, and left him questioning everything he thought he knew about her. But what cut the deepest, he told me, was that he'd believed her. When she first claimed that the money had been intended for the whole family, that our parents had left it as a shared inheritance, he didn't hesitate. He never looked at the will. He didn't even ask me. He trusted her. And now that guilt was gnawing him from the inside out, he didn't come to defend her. He came to beg, not for Melissa, but for their children, my niece and nephew, just 7 and 5, too young to grasp the mess their mother had created, too innocent to carry the weight of her choices. Daniel asked me to spare her from prison, maybe a civil case, maybe a negotiated settlement, anything that wouldn't put their mom behind bars or make them the subject of public scandal. I told him I'd consider it, but I already knew what I was going to do, because this wasn't just about a stolen bank transfer. Melissa had tried to destroy my life. She ridiculed my goals, tried to rip away everything I'd worked for, and laughed as she did it. If the situation were reversed, I know she wouldn't have hesitated to ruin me. But more than that, she had to be stopped. She needed consequences. Because if I let her walk away from this, she'd just do it again. Someone else would be her next victim. Still, the kids didn't deserve to lose both parents. So I made a choice she wouldn't expect. I asked to meet her face to face. We sat in a quiet cafe, tucked into a corner where we'd have witnesses but not ears. She didn't look like the woman I used to know. Her usually flawless makeup was gone. Her skin was pale and tight with stress. Her hair was pulled into a messy knot, and her hands trembled on the table. She opened her mouth, but I raised my hand to stop her. I would speak first. I laid it all out, calmly, precisely. The forged signatures, the fake emails, the impersonation, the attempt to drain my college fund, and the dash cam footage of her hit and run, sent to a former friend in a moment of arrogance. All of it had been filed. The DA was aware. One word from me, and everything would go public. Then I gave her a choice. Option 1. I press charges. Full stop. She gets hit with felony fraud, identity theft, and potentially manslaughter, depending on what they find. She loses custody. Her name hits the news cycle. Her reputation crumbles, and prison becomes her future. Option 2. She signs away full custody to Daniel, files for divorce immediately, leaves without protest and agrees, legally, not to contact me or my family ever again. I won't pursue criminal charges for the fraud, and I'll hold off on the hit and run unless another witness or victim surfaces. She must pay back every cent she took from their shared accounts and sign a written confession to be held in trust. Insurance in case she ever comes near us again. She stared at me, speechless. And then she cried. Not performative sobs, quiet, broken tears. Because she knew. She had lost. She had underestimated me. Thought I was just the awkward med student with too much idealism and not enough backbone. She never saw what I had become. 2 weeks later, the divorce was official. Daniel got full custody. Melissa signed everything without contest. The house deal collapsed completely. She moved back in with her parents, across state lines, into a cramped apartment she once mocked. She faded away. We never heard from her again. Daniel apologized to me over and over for months. I forgave him, slowly. Eventually, he'd been naive, but not cruel. Just another person caught in her wake. And when it mattered, he stood by me. As for me, the college fund stayed intact. Every cent. I finished pre-med, got accepted to medical school, honors track, and now I'm in my residency, halfway to becoming the doctor my parents believed I could be. Their dream lives on in me. Every time I walk into a hospital room, I remember how close I came to losing it all to someone else's greed. But in the end, she didn't destroy me. She destroyed herself. And I made sure she'd never get another chance to do it again.